Hi, it's Sandra here from Create in Spain. Now, for those of you who know me for my crafting videos, I try and save money where I can so I can spend it where I need to. Now, in the case of nail art and stamping, I thought I'd show you a couple of things that you may not actually realise. Now, I have this thing. Yes, I know it looks grotty, but none of this colour is coming off on my fingers. That is just the way that it has got over time. But this is a very useful material. It is a lint-free chamois cloth. Now, I buy them from Spanish chain Donti. I'm sure you can get them in dollar stores and in pound shops, and they come in bags like this. And this is basically a very thin foam, but there are no loose fibres on it. And you cut it up into pieces to be used in smaller sections, which is great. It's very soft and flexible, and it's very useful for cleaning up all sorts of things in the craft room. Now, what I'm suggesting is that when you're doing your stamping and you have, I put that into one side somewhere and I can't find it. Where have I put it? Ah, here we go. You have these sorts of things to do your scraping, and you have your stamping plate. Now, if you are using acrylics, you can simply wipe this off onto a damp cloth, like so, and keep it nice and clean. Again, if you're using acrylics, you can use this damp cloth to wipe down your stamp plate. Any that you really can't get off, you can obviously take the rest off with acetone or nail polish remover or alcohol, depending on what you're using on your stamp plate, okay? But it's a very useful thing to have. You can wash it over and over again. You can put it in the washing machine or the dishwasher even, or you can just wash it under the tap with soapy water. So you have lots of different choices there. And I keep it in a little soap container like this with some holes in, because that stops it from getting a bit stinky. Okay, so that's the first one. Second one. We're all familiar with bottles of nail polish remover, I'm sure. But this particular bottle, for example, does not have any kind of dispenser in it. Now, you have a couple of options. You can possibly put a pump soap dispenser type nozzle in it and use that if you use it very often. Now, I don't use mine very often, and I really don't like the smell of nail polish remover, so the least I can smell this, better. But I have come across a nice little cheat that I use, and it's this. Now, in case you don't recognise this, this is just a child's felt tip pen, and they generally come in a set of, I don't know, 6, 12, 24, whatever. And they usually have a piece of plastic around here which denotes some kind of cartoon character or something, TV program, something of that ilk. Now, what you can do is you can actually open these up because they only have a little stopper on the end. And what I've done, and I'll slide it out, I've taken a piece of a chunky drinking straw. Now, this is designed for milkshakes and things, thicker drinks, so it's a thicker straw. And all I've done is I have rolled up a piece of gauze into the centre. And I had cleaned off the tip of my felt tip, and you must make sure that all the ink is out of it, obviously. And then just pop that back in there and put the top on, because I have filled it up with my nail polish remover. So this would be very handy for cleaning up odd little mistakes around the cuticle, for example, or maybe getting little marks off of your fingers, or indeed off of anything else where you need a little tiny bit of nail polish remover. And of course, all you need to do is to fill it back up. Now, I use a simple dropper to take the nail polish remover from the bottle and just drop it into the back. And that's all you need to do. But if you don't have that, you can either tip it into a smaller container or use a very tiny funnel or a syringe if you've got one of those. And then when it runs out, you just top it up again, ready to use whenever you want it. Okay, so there's one other thing that I wanted to tell you about, and that is PVA glue, wood glue. Now, before you turn off and say, oh yes, I know all about wood glue being used as masking for nails, not quite the way I use it. Now, some wood glues are thicker than others. This one happens to be quite a thick glue. And so generally when I want to apply it for a mask around the cuticle, what I would do is wait for it to come out, like so, and just use a damp, flat brush to apply it. So I just dip it in some water. I've got some water there, so I would dip it in the water, wipe it on the side of the cup, and then apply. Now this works perfectly well, except for one incy-dincy little problem, is when you've got it on there and it's dried, you can't see the stuff. And sometimes it doesn't pull off in one piece. Sometimes it's a little too thin and it doesn't really come off very easily, and you're left for the next half an hour trying to take little pieces out. Enter my little pot of magic. All this is baby talc. Yep, I kid you not. So what I would do is add a little bit of baby talc to my wood glue, put my brush in the water and just damp it down again, and mix in the talcum powder with my wood glue, and then use it to paint around the cuticle as normal. Now, it doesn't affect the glue's ability to stick to your skin. What it does affect is the drying time, which makes it very slightly quicker, I think you'll find, depending on how much talc you add. If your glue was too runny to start with, it will definitely thicken it up for you, so that will make life a little easier. But the other thing that it does is it makes it so you can actually see it when it's dry, because it has this white cast to it, which is a lot better than not being able to see it at all. But it will dry very slightly quicker, and I found that when it comes time to peel it off, it peels off a bit easier. So now I've got to let this dry. Now, if you get the mix just right, and it's generally about 50-50 the glue to talc, and if you put it on thick enough, you'll find that when it dries, it looks something like that, which means at least you can see it. And if it was properly, this is still tacky, if this was properly dry, it would probably have come off in one piece. But I was in too much of a hurry to finish filming. There we are, relatively big pieces. And at least if it does stick on there, you can see it in order to take it off. Whereas sometimes if you just use the glue, you sometimes find yourself half an hour later thinking, oh, there's a little bit of loose skin there. Oh no, it isn't, it's the glue. Okay, so there we have it. I hope you find that useful. Take care now. Bye bye.